Hello and welcome back to Baseball Talk with the Earle brothers. And today was Selection Monday in college baseball, and we got the regionals, and we're gonna break down what we expect from these matchups, what we are looking at, maybe what teams we think are dangerous a little bit. What teams kind of got screwed, which teams kind of got put in nice situations.
Yep.
So now I don't know as much about college baseball as Tim does. I know that. So it's going to be a lot of me throwing it to Tim a little bit here. But you want to get started here for this matchup here?
Yep.
Or for this
And
tournament?
I'll quickly mention before we jump into everything. Obviously, make sure you guys are subscribed and everything. But we're going to be having three things that we're going to do, Nick, for this video. Obviously, we're going to break down each. I'm going to try to look at each team in the regionals. But me and Nick are each going to pick a four seed team to make it out of the regional or make it the furthest. We're going to choose a top 8 national seed that will not make it out of their own regional, and we will be choosing our Omaha 8. And I'll be honest, originally I threw my Pirates in there, but I went and did a little bit more realistic one for my Omaha 8. I'm excited for it. But yeah, we'll be able to jump into some action, Nick.
Yeah. So we're going to start with we'll start with the regional with the number 1 overall team. What do you think, Tim?
Let's do it.
All right, we got the Nashville Regional, the Vanderbilt Commodores, the number 1 overall team in the nation. They were 42-16 this season. The number 2 seed is Louisville, 35-21. Their first matchup of the tournament will be going up against East Tennessee State, 41-15, winners of the SoCon, the Buccaneers there. And the 4 seed is the Raiders of Wright State, 38-19 out of the Horizon League for this matchup here. Obviously, we know Vanderbilt's the number 1 overall team in this one here. Do we see any type of maybe lower seeds, maybe having a little bit of a threat in this one, or should Vandy just run away with this and it should be pretty easy for the Commodores here?
I'll say I think the toughest opponent that Vanderbilt's going to have to face is ETSU. Honestly, you looked at the board, and when I was kind of doing my bracketology, and when I was looking at it, I had Louisville on the 3 line. I did not think they were a 2 seed. Obviously, they had them as the worst 2 seed if they're going to pin them in the number 1 region. But I did not see Louisville had a good enough season for them to be in that spot. But I looked at this one. Wright State, congratulations to them again. They won the Horizon League, or as we now call it, the Wright State League, because they've won it, I believe, the last 7 years. They've been dominating that conference. So they look really good. ETSU, honestly, ETSU could have been an at-large, even without it, an RPI of 36. They won the Southern Conference, and I do like ETSU as the runner-up in this one. I was not super high on Louisville. Where was Louisville in terms of RPI? Louisville was 32nd RPI, so that's more of a 3-line to me. So that's why I'm very surprised that they're a 2-line team, considering that they also did not play well in the conference tournament. I think the Vanderbilt runs away with this one. I don't really think it's close. I think ETSU and Vanderbilt will play in the finals.
Yeah, I do think Vanderbilt kind of has an easy run through here, and we'll talk about. I think we'll talk about Vanderbilt a little bit later in the show as well, as a team that I think probably makes a deep run. They're the best team in the nation. Not too much to break down there. We'll move on to the 16 seed here, the Hattiesburg Regional. How about this, Tim? The Sun Belt Conference has 2 hosts, and we'll talk about Coastal in a little bit. The other one hosting there. Southern Miss gets the 16th overall seed. They were 44-14 out of the Sun Belt Conference. They will be taking on the 29-17 Columbia Lions out of the Ivy League. Kind of an interesting team there. I thought Yale was going to make it out of the Ivy League.
or even Penn.
And we were going to see potentially Jack Oman starting game one against. That would have been sick, but unfortunately, we have Columbia, which they're an okay team. I don't really see them making too much of a threat there. Then we had the 2-3 matchup. Alabama 41-16 out of the SEC. They had a really strong year. I remember you were very high on them in the beginning of the season, saying they could have potentially hosted a regional this year. I think there's still arguments that Alabama could have hosted a regional.
I'll give an explanation of why they should have, but keep going.
Yeah, and then Florida, or not Florida, Miami, Florida, 31-24 out of the ACC. Not the greatest record there. As we saw them bow out a little bit really early in the ACC tournament. We saw them kind of limp to the finish. Are you surprised to see that Miami made it with a 31-24 record a little bit as well?
No,
so
not surprised.
What's your thoughts on this regional?
Miami was never a bubble team. They were always going to make it in. They were always a 3-line team. After their sweep of Virginia, who did they sweep? NC State earlier in the season. They went on they swept 3 straight ACC series. They were never going to be a bubble team. And we'll quickly talk about Southern Miss, and then you mentioned Coastal being the 2 Sun Belt teams. Well, I feel like there was a little bit of a give and take for the Sun Belt. Sun Belt got to host two regionals. Their third team was a bubble team on the first 4 out. And here's the thing. I feel like if TCU got this regional, Troy would have made it in. Because Big 12 had 0 hosts. But they had 3 of the last 4 in. So that was one of the big things there was we saw a little bit of I don't know about that one because Arizona State made it in when UConn and Troy both had better RPIs. So that one that was a give and take. We'll quickly look at the teams. Columbia, out of the Ivy League, was the second best team in the Ivy League all year. Maybe even third best team because I know Penn was up there as well. Miami, I think, is going to kind of clunker out. Alabama, ready for this one, Nick? Alabama, if you look at the top 16 teams RPI, 15 out of the 16 are hosting. Alabama was 13th in the RPI. Southern Miss was 19th.
Oh.
Southern Miss got the bid instead of Alabama. But you also got to look at it. Look who's hosting this year. Vanderbilt, Georgia, Auburn, Texas, Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, Ole Miss. They couldn't give 9 hosts to the SEC. Therefore, Alabama gets left out. I think Alabama bows out of this tournament quickly, though.
Really?
And hear me out. I'm going to mention 2 4 seeds that I like. I think the regional final is Southern Miss and Columbia. I think Ivy Leagues always seem to put up some fight because 2 years ago, Penn made it out of a regional, made it out of the Auburn regional. I believe last year we saw Columbia put up a fight against somebody. We've seen Ivy Leagues put up some fights, and I think they could possibly win against Southern Miss in their opening game. That could definitely be something that you could see. I see Alabama beating Miami, and then I could easily see Miami and Southern Miss playing in that losers bracket final. Southern Miss making it out of that one. Beating Miami, then beating Alabama. I can see Columbia winning 2 games in a row. I will mention a different team because I want to take a little bit longer odds. Columbia is the second best odds on a 4 seed to win a regional. So the only team that's got better odds, I believe, was South Carolina Upstate in the Clemson regional. Give me Southern Miss in this one. I think Southern Miss makes it to the Supers. I think Columbia makes it to the regional finals and loses to Southern Miss.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking for my bracket, which I'm going to probably fill out a bracket. I think I want to go Roll Tide here. That's kind of where I was looking.
You could easily see that.
I can see this as Alabama comes in pissed that Southern Miss stole their hosting bid.
I'll be honest with Alabama. They had the opportunity. It's not like they got snubbed out. Dude, you go into the SEC tournament. They win one game in the SEC tournament against Missouri. Doesn't count. Then they allow up 15 runs to Tennessee. No, they did not deserve the host. Yes, they were 13 RPI. No, they did not deserve the host.
Fair. I'm ready to move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
We head to Corvallis with the Beavs, Oregon State, 41-12-1 this year. What conference? They're Big 10?
Oregon State?
Yeah. Or no,
they're independent.
Independent, that's right. Independent there, 41-12-1. They'll be taking on the Gales of St. Mary's. That was kind of a surprise out of the Big West or the West Coast Conference. The West Coast Conference, they knocked off Gonzaga in the championship game, 35-24. The 2 seed is TCU, 39-18 out of the Big 12, and Southern California, 35-21 out of the Big 10. A West Coast regional here. Any potential surprises here? I feel like TCU is a little bit of an interesting team. Maybe Southern. I feel like the winner of the 2-3 can win this regional.
I agree. I will say props to Oregon State. They had a very tough schedule and a tough time making a schedule because when you're an independent school, getting weekend matchups later on in the season when everybody's playing conference play is not easy. They played a lot of neutral games. They had to mix and match their schedule. They played more of they played a lot of different teams in their weekend series, but that was definitely a tough battle, like a tough scheduling for them. St. Mary's won the championship against San Diego for the WCC. And honestly, I did not expect them to come out of there. I expected San Diego or I expected Gonzaga, but St. Mary's got the bid. It's their first tournament in like 10 years. Good for them. Here's my team to win the regional. It was one of the last 4 ins, and that's USC. This is a team that I just feel like there's something there. Obviously, TCU can look at it thinking, we should have hosted. And they probably should have, although their RPI was 18. So it makes sense that they didn't host. By the way, in terms of RPIs, Florida, TCU, Southern Miss, and Dalbap were 17-20. Teams that you could have snuck them in there, but wouldn't have really worked out. USC's RPI was all the way down at 45. And St. Mary's is way down. I think St. Mary's is just happy to be there. That's one of those teams that you're going to get that blowout game from Oregon State against St. Mary's. I think USC wins the regional. I think Oregon State's the runner-up. I think TCU kind of falls apart.
I could see this as one of those spots, though, that Oregon State can easily win this regional because of the matchup that they have set up in the first round there against St. Mary's, where they don't have to throw any big arms. They can save their big arms for that Saturday game and then kind of cruise against what could be TCU or USC's 2. They have their 1 pitching there. That could be a angle to take at that. So I could see this as a regional that Oregon State wins. We'll talk about because I have a different pick for my Omaha 8 out of the 8-9 super regional, but
I will say I don't think St. Mary's is going to be a total pushover. They're 90 RPI, so it's not like they're one of those teams that were like 100 plus RPI. They're 90, so that's not terrible. So I don't hate that. I don't think they're a complete pushover.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is an interesting regional.
Yes, it is.
That I think one team is going to grasp the attention of a lot of people, and it's gotten the attention of me because I'm going to have them in my bracket to win the region. And spoiler alert, I'll be talking about them later in the tournament as well. We have the number 9 overall seed, Florida State, hosting the region. The 2 seed, Northeastern. What a year for them. 48-9 entering the tournament on a 27-game winning streak. Yes,
And
you heard me right.
And 36 out of their last 37.
Yeah,
their one loss in that span was a run rule loss at Campbell.
My question is, now granted, I'm assuming their RPI is not high because the people they face. How do you have a 48-9 record and not host unless their facilities are just not good enough to host?
A, facilities are not good enough. B, their RPI is 22 with a strength of schedule of 168.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense there. Then
they had they played 5 Q1 games where they went 2-3. They played 8 Q2 games that they went 8-2. The rest of the season they played 44 quad 3 and quad 4 games where they went 40-4.
Yep. And then they'll be taking on the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, 34-21, the 3 seed there, and then the 4 seed, good old Swaction, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Obviously, Bethune-Cookman wins this regional. I think they run away with it pretty easily. What's your thoughts on this one here?
I think Bethune-Cookman's happy to be there at 199 RPI.
Of course. Well,
I know you were joking. Now this is a regional. A lot of people are gonna love the Huskies. A lot of them are gonna love the Huskies. Nobody's ready for Northeastern to go in barbecue. No, I'm kidding. They're not going to go in barbecue because they're going. All right, they're going to get their winning streak snapped by Mississippi State. I'm going to put it out there now. Mississippi State beats them. Then Northeastern will beat Bethune-Cookman, and then they'll lose to Mississippi State again. That's the way I see it. Northeastern had a great year. Who are their big wins? I'm gonna scroll through. Let me know if any of these are. Let's see. This year they played Charlotte. They went 1-1. They lost 5-2 to the Boston Red Sox. Yes, they actually played the Boston Red Sox.
Competitive against them though.
They won 2 out of 3 against Indiana State. They went to the island and lost 3 out of 4 to Hawaii. After that, they swept North Dakota State, got ruled by Bryant. You know what? Let me just list off the series wins that they had. Harvard, Merrimack, Towson, Stony Brook. They had a win against Boston College. 2 out of 3 against Campbell. Swept Hofstra. 2 wins against Kansas State. There you go. Those are 2 good wins because that's a team that's in the tournament. Charleston, Monmouth, Delaware, William & Mary, NCAA. They did beat UConn, did not make the field. So they had 2 wins against teams in the field. And they're both bubbled. Kansas State, that was a last 4 in. Northeastern hasn't played anybody this year. Mississippi State played SEC play all year long. I think I'm taking Florida State to win the regional. I think Mississippi State's a runner-up.
Fair. I think Northeastern makes it out of it, and I'm going to fall for it. I'm going to buy into the hype of the Huskies. Spoiler: I have them in my Omaha 8.
I think that's way too bold.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Let's keep it going. The 5 seed, the 5 overall national seed, the North Carolina Tar Heels, 42-12 out of the ACC. They'll be taking on Holy Cross, the Crusaders, out of the Patriot League. Patriot League champion Crusaders, 31-25 on the year. Boomer Sooner, 35-20, the 2 seed in this region. They'll be taking on Corn, a bid stealer out of the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
They won. They beat Oregon, and then they knocked off UCLA in the Big Ten championship to make it to the regional here. Definitely a team that someone like Troy is not very happy about. For me, could they have given North Carolina an easier regional? Like this looks like a cakewalk to me, honestly. I mean, Nebraska stole a bid. Holy Cross, they should kick the crap out of. Oklahoma's the only true threat in this in this regional. If I'm North Carolina, a loss in this regional at all, and I think it's a disappointment. I think they sweep this. I think they sweep and they make it really easily.
Holy Cross finally defeated the demon of Army that won the Patriot League for 7 straight years. So finally they got a new champion. So good for them. They're 136 RPI. They're not winning a game.
No.
Nebraska was a bid stealer. Yes. Because their RPI was all the way down at 51. Just to give you an idea, Texas A&M was 1 spot higher. So yes, Nebraska was definitely a bid stealer. And Troy definitely felt the consequences from it. Oklahoma. There was parts in the season that we thought Oklahoma would be able to host a regional. They finished 26th in the RPI. And I look at it and no, I don't see this one as a complete pushover for UNC. I think Holy Cross will give UNC a run for their money. I think you might see something similar to that LIU game from last year.
I was gonna ask what is your thoughts on Holy Cross compared to LIU last year?
Holy Cross is definitely a better team than LIU was. So I definitely think, and I think UNC will hold Knapp, their ace, for that Saturday game, which will make that Holy Cross game a little bit closer. I will be taking Holy Cross plus the spread, most likely. Looking at like something similar to that. Holy Cross is going to keep that game close. Now, Nebraska and Oklahoma is a toss-up. I personally have Nebraska as my runner-up. I have Nebraska as my runner-up. I have UNC winning the regional. I do think UNC takes care of business when it all comes down to it. But I think Holy Cross will give them a big run for their money. I think Nebraska will give them a big run for their money. And I don't think UNC will see Oklahoma.
Fair. Yeah. I'm hard-pressed to find an argument for anybody other than North Carolina to win this regional.
That's fair.
Move on.
Yep.
Ducks. Quack, quack. The 12th overall seed here in Eugene, Oregon. Arizona. My bad. Oregon, 42-12 out of the Big Ten this year. Takes on Utah Valley, 32-27 out of the Big Sky, I want to say. The 4 seed there.
Whack.
My bad, the whack. Arizona, 39-18 out of the Big 12. The Big 12 tournament champions, Arizona Wildcats. And then Cal Poly, the Mustangs, 41-17, the 3 seed here. I think Arizona has a very legitimate chance to win this regional. I think they're coming in hot after winning the Big 12, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them carry that momentum over to winning this regional here in Eugene. Arizona to Oregon, it's a decent travel, but it's nothing crazy. This is a Western regional here in this spot. I feel like Cal Poly could be a trendy little dog here. I think Arizona probably takes care of business against them, and I think the Wildcats can win this can win this regional.
I do have Arizona winning the regional. I did take them to win the regional. I think that they're the best team in this regional. Oregon has some flaws, and I'll tell you the key to this series: whoever's facing Oregon, throw your best left-handed pitcher. The splits for Oregon are crazy when it comes to right-handed versus left-handed pitching. And I think that's going to be their big step down. Utah Valley out of the whack, 171 RPI. They're happy to be there. Cal Poly was a bubble team. They were bubble the entire year. Then they go and they win the Big West. And they beat Irvine 2 games in a doubleheader. They beat them both times on that Sunday. Big for Cal Poly. I was so happy when I saw that. Pretty sure Troy people weren't. I have Arizona winning the regional. I have Cal Poly as my runner-up. I think Oregon doesn't even step foot in the regional finals. And here's the deal: when it comes to Oregon, you take them when they're not hosting. You've seen this in the years past. I believe last year Oregon won their regional. They were a 3 seed at the Santa Barbara regional. Oregon hosted one the year before, and I believe that was the one that Yale won. Right, Yale? I think Yale beat them. I think that was I want to say it was Yale. Beat them. But either way, I see this one as Arizona winning.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I think we're on board that Oregon does not make it out of this regional. But we'll move on. The 4 seed overall, Auburn Tigers. I'm getting up this regional real quick. There we go. 38-18 out of the SEC. They'll be taking on Central Connecticut State, the Blue Devils, out of the NEC. A nice comeback win for them in that NEC championship game against Long Island. That was a matchup that I was kind of keeping tabs on because I really wanted to see the Sharks. Unfortunately, we get Central Connecticut State. And then the 2-3, this is an interesting matchup, Tim, and I know this is probably one that I would have circled that I would like to watch in day one. Number 2, NC State Wolfpack, 33-19 of the ACC. And I know you liked them a lot in the beginning of the season. The 40-20 Stetson Hatters out of the Atlantic Sun Conference. Is it just me? Or I kind of want, at least in my bracket, to take Stetson to at least make the regional final. If not win this regional, and shock Auburn potentially here. So what's your thoughts here? I'm kind of thinking Stetson's a live 3 seed in this one.
I would agree with you. Although it's very tough for me to fade Auburn. I do have Auburn winning the regional. I'll say that outright. Auburn was a school that we looked at in the beginning of the year when, all right, they may be one of those bubble at-large teams in the SEC that barely make it in. Because Auburn was one of the 3 SEC schools that didn't make it last year. Yeah. Like, they went from missing the tournament to the number 4 team in the conference. Or number 4 team in the conference. Number 4 team in the nation. So big step up by Auburn. Awesome to see. Central Connecticut State is the 3rd worst. I believe they're the 3rd worst RPI team in the field. The only ones that were worse, we talked about Bethune Cookman and North Dakota State. Those are the only 2 schools that are worse RPI-wise. Central Connecticut State's happy to be there. Auburn's going to beat them 18-2. It's not going to be. That one's going to be one of the ugly games. Stetson and NC State is going to be a lot of fun. Stetson was one of the teams that would have been on the outside looking in, and I want to give my apologies to Florida Gulf Coast because that sucked. Because they were playing their tournament. There was a doubleheader on Sunday for the championship. Stetson had to win one of the games. Florida Gulf Coast had to win 2. Florida Gulf Coast won the first game. They couldn't get the second game off. They were co-champions. The automatic bid went to Stetson. And that sucks. I really wish they could have gotten that last game off. I think Stetson runs with it. Stetson beats NC State. Auburn wins the regional, though. Auburn, Stetson is my number 1, number 2.
That's fair. We'll move on to definitely the regional that me and you will have the most attention paid to. We head down to Conway, South Carolina for Coastal's regional. The 48-11 Chanticleers out of the Sun Belt Conference will take on the Fairfield Stags on 39-17. A fun little squad there, Fairfield, as they won. I forgot what they're in the MAA. They're in the MAC. They're in the MAC. And then the 2-3 matchup, the Florida Gators, 38-20 out of the SEC, taking on the East Carolina Pirates. They went 33-25 out of the American Athletic Conference, sweeping their way through the conference tournament to make it this far. And a down year for Cliff Godwin and the Pirates there, and they find themselves in a regional once again. I'm going to be a homer POS here. I'm taking East Carolina to win the regional, just because I can. And my bracket will have ECU, but just because my degree coming in the mail in a few days will have East Carolina on it. So I'm going to be on East Carolina, or I'm picking East Carolina to win the regional. All realistic, it's probably Florida that probably does. I hate the first matchup here for ECU that they get, because I wanted NC State. Like, that's who I wanted as I wanted Coastal, NC State, ECU,
I wanted Duke.
and I don't care.
I wanted Duke.
And I don't care about the 4 seed type of thing. Here's the thing though, that Friday matchup against Florida, when you throw Ethan Rugby on the mound, I feel okay. I feel okay. I'm a homer POS, so I'm going to take ECU to win the regional. But all realistically speaking, I think Florida probably wins it.
I'll make the argument that that Coastal Carolina should have been a top 8 national seed. Clearly, I clearly think they should have been a top 8 national seed. They were number 8 in the RPI. Some of the teams ahead of them that were below them in the RPI, Florida State, Ole Miss, Clemson, all below them that should have been. Yeah, no, I strongly believe that Coastal Carolina should have been a top 8 national seed. I'm going to be a homer POS too. Realistically speaking, though, I think Coastal Carolina wins the regional. Realistically speaking, I think Coastal Carolina wins the regional. I think Florida probably is the runner-up. I think ECU wins. Realistically, ECU wins 1 game in the regional, and it's the Fairfield. But at the same time, this is a Florida team that came in hot, but they are thin. They have, I believe, 1 player on their bench. They are a thin team right now. I think Coastal wins the regional, but I'm taking ECU because I'm a homer.
Fair. We'll move on. We head to Austin, the 2 seed Texas Longhorns. They are 42-12 out of the SEC. First year in the SEC, first SEC regular season title for them. They will be taking on the 4 seed Houston Christian Huskies, who went 32-23 out of the Southland. I want to say Southland.
Yeah, Southland. Sorry.
Yep. And then we have the 2 seed, the regular season American Athletic Conference champion UTSA Roadrunners. Taking on the Kansas State Wildcats, 31-24 out of the Big 12. Someone with a team with a committee member on the team with the committee member there in K-State. That happened to be one of the last 4 in. We all know what happened there. I think UTSA disposed of them in that game, in that first game. I think Texas though runs away with this regional. I don't really see. Here's the thing. I have in my Omaha 8 5 national ranked teams and then 3 non-ranked teams. I have Texas making it to Omaha this year. I'm going with the Longhorns to win this regional. I think UTSA is your runner-up. I think this is a chalk 1-2 type of thing. I would look towards Texas winning this regional with UTSA finishing second.
We'll quickly mention Houston Christian was one of the longest shots out of the Southland, because that was a conference that should have been either SELA, UTRGV, or Lamar, and none of them did anything. It ended up being Houston Christian versus New Orleans in the finals, which was insane. Kansas State was a committee pick, but they had a good enough resume to get in. Because they were 37 RPI compared to the last four in, which were 49, 44, and 45. The biggest surpriser, Nick, and I know you mentioned, the committee. The head of the committee was a SELA person, and SELA was one of the first four out. So I guess that kind of proves something there, but obviously it's SELA. It's not like it's not like they could have snuck them in. We're gonna have a segment later, Nick. And it's one of the segments is a top 8 national seed to not make it out of the regional. Give me UTSA to win the regional. Give me the Roadrunners. Meep. And Texas is your runner-up. Dude, Texas had a really, really good start to the tournament, to the season. Obviously, they were the number 1 team in the nation for a couple weeks. They lost a couple arms. They lost a couple bullpen pieces, and they lost one of their big bats. So this is a Texas team that's coming into it limping. Honestly, I think Texas should have been more of a 4 or 5 seed than a 2 seed in the bracket. I would have put Arkansas above them. Arkansas swept Texas. I would have put UNC in front of Texas, in my opinion. UTSA wins the conference. Wins the regional.
And we saw UTSA go into Texas earlier this year and win a game against them.
We did.
Fair. So then we'll head over to the Los Angeles region. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 more regionals to talk about here. We'll try to speed this up a little bit. UCLA 42-16 out of the Big Ten, taking on Fresno State 31-27 out of the Mountain West. From that record, they either had a really tough out of conference schedule or they were a surprise to win their region.
They were the favorite to win their conference. They were the best team in their conference the entire season with what was their conference record? It's 18-12. They were one of the better teams in the Mountain West.
So then they had a tough out of conference schedule then.
Finishing
only 4 games over. But UC Irvine 41-15. They'll be taking on Arizona State, won the last 4 in, 35-22.
Yep.
I think Irvine is very live to win this regional. That would be one of the spots that I think could be very interesting. I think UCLA can win this regional. They should win this regional. They're hosting this regional. Would not shock me to see the Anteaters move on and face Texas.
All right, Nick. We mentioned one of the segments earlier that I said, a top 8 regional team that's not going to win. How about a 4 seed to win a regional? I don't think a 4 seed's going to win a regional. I will say that. I think Fresno State's got the best opportunity to win a regional. Because UCLA is beatable. We've seen this. And I think Fresno State's got enough arms and they've got enough bats to pull off an upset. I have Fresno State as the runner-up in this regional. I have Irvine winning the regional. And that's going to make it great because that means if my thing comes true, we're going to have at least one mid-major school in Omaha.
Ooh.
Because UTSA Irvine would be a fantastic super regionals. And I believe the host of that would be Irvine. Irvine would end up getting the host over UTSA for the super regional.
Well, I mean, after the crap we saw last year where it was 4 ACC, 4 SEC, I want to see some mid-majors this year. And I have 3 mid-majors in Omaha this year, so we'll see.
I have 2, and the rest are ACC, SEC.
We want to move on?
Yeah. And here's one of my Omaha teams.
Let's head to it. We have the Bulldogs of Georgia, 42-15 out of the SEC, taking on the Pride of Binghamton, 29-24 out of the American East Conference. Duke 37-19 out of the ACC. Oklahoma State, the Pokes 28-23 out of the Big 12. Kind of interesting to see them there, see them get in. Were they won the last 4 into Oklahoma State?
They were.
That makes sense.
They were 44 RPI. They were in the last 4.
Yeah, their record is not very impressive, to be completely honest. I think Georgia runs away with this one, personally. I think Georgia's by and far the best team in this one. I know you have a different team, but my first look is UGA. They don't have run rules, but they would. I think they win by 10 plus against Binghamton.
At least.
And they saved their big arm for Saturday against Duke, and they take care of Duke as well. I think UGA runs through this entire one.
I think the Dukies are an Omaha team.
Whoa!
I think Duke's an Omaha team. Georgia has been great all year. I'm not selling them short. They were number 2 in the RPI. They were fantastic. But Duke's been a team that's kind of been slept on. Earlier in the year, they struggled. They remember they lost one of their opening weekends to Cincinnati. They lost a game to Cornell. They kind of had a really rough start to the year, and then they figured out something. Because they turned it around. Although one thing that is a little bit concerning with Duke is they're a 5-11 Q1 record.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be concerned with that one because most of that I feel like was earlier in the year. Not to mention they lost the series to UNC. They didn't. There's some in there. The Pokes were 44 RPI. They got in over UTRGV and over UConn, which was a little bit surprising, and over Xavier, who all had better RPIs. So Oklahoma State made it in, I believe, just off of name of their own. But I will say, Oklahoma State is another one of teams like Oregon. They always seem to struggle in their own regional, but always seem to be able to do something in away regionals. That being said, I took Duke to win the regional, and I took Georgia as my runner-up. And as I mentioned earlier, I have Duke making it to Omaha.
Fair. We'll move on. We have the 10 seed Ole Miss Rebels taking on for this one here. Let me get up Mississippi. All right, that's just being really cool. Georgia Tech. Because it's under Ole Miss, the 10 seed 40-19 out of the SEC taking on the Racers of Murray State out of the Missouri Valley Conference or Ohio Valley. Missouri Valley? Ohio.
Missouri Valley.
I had it right the first time. 39-13 this year. Georgia Tech 40-17 out of the ACC taking on the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. 46-12 this year out of Western Kentucky. They are, why am I drawing a blank? They're CUSA, right?
Yes, CUSA.
Thank you. I was drawing a blank on what conference they were again. They looked really strong this year. Am I wrong to think Western Kentucky is a sneaky team in this in this regional? Like,
I mean, you and everybody's going to think that.
Okay, fair enough. Then I'm just part of the public. Then I think they're very live to win this regional. I think Ole Miss wins it, but don't be surprised when Western Kentucky is playing in the regional championship game.
I'll be surprised when they do, because Ole Miss isn't even going to win the regional. Georgia Tech's going to come into that one pissed. They're the first ACC team since 1999 to win the regular season title and not host a regional. That is going to be a pissed off team, and they were right on the verge. I can't really say they were right on the verge of hosting. They were 21 RPI. I think they needed one more win in the ACC tournament, maybe 2 more wins in the ACC tournament to get in. They were very, very close. But I think Georgia Tech comes into there pissed. Ole Miss looks great. They moved themselves all the way up to number 12 in the RPI after coming in second place in the SEC tournament. But give me Georgia Tech to win the regional, and give me Ole Miss as the runner-up. Murray State, congratulations on a great year, you guys. They were one of the last undefeated teams. Murray State looked great all year, and so did Western Kentucky.
Fair. I think Western Kentucky can at least make the conference championship.
Okay. Have another one.
We'll move on. And we have a team that I always fall victim to this team every year. One of these teams here, but let's get into it. We head down to Baton Rouge. LSU hosting the regional, the 6th overall seed, 43-14. They'll be taking on the Rams of Little Rock, 24-32.
Yeah, I mistake, Nick. They are Little Rock's the worst team in the tournament. My bad.
I'm sorry, what? They're 8 games under, and they won their conference tournament.
They won the OVC.
Wow, that is I didn't even know that. Wow. And then we have the 40-16 Dallas Baptist Patriots out of the CUSA, taking on the Rams of Rhode Island, 38-20 out of the A10. God damn it. I'm going to buy into them again here in this spot, and I'm going to pick them to win the regional. Give me the Patriots at Dallas Baptist. We'll talk about a top 8 seed that's not going to win the regional. LSU. For me, it's just I keep buying into this team, and I think eventually they're going to crack through and make a super. I think this is Dallas Baptist. Right? This is Dallas Baptist's year to do so. I think that they can stun the world here and knock off LSU. I think LSU makes the regional final because I think they beat the ever-living shit out of Little Rock. I don't like that might be the biggest blowout in the entire tournament. Like they may drop 20+ runs on them. Little Rock. I think that it could be one of those games where we take a look back and we're like, holy crap, 24-1 like type of game there, where they absolutely destroy Little Rock, and then Dallas Baptist comes in there and knocks them off there. So I'm gonna buy into them again. Give me Dallas Baptist.
Nicholas, can I interest you in a little bit of the Rams?
No. I think Dallas Baptist takes care of them.
Because Rhode Island's going to be the runner-up in this regional. I'm not sold on Dallas Baptist. Dalbap could have been another team to host. I will say Dallas Baptist could have hosted if they would have won their regional. They did not. I think LSU runs through this tournament. I think 2 top 8 national seeds go down. I don't think LSU is going to come close to. I think LSU got the easiest regional. Dalbap was 20th in the RPI. That's a tough matchup. That's a tougher matchup. But when you're a SEC school and you've got no Power 4 schools in your conference, no, I think LSU runs through it. Rhode Island's back up.
I'm trying to find where I can fill out the bracket, Tim. Where can I fill out the bracket?
D1 on Twitter.
D1 on Twitter. Okay, thank you.
And this is their pinned tweet.
Okay, then I'll let you. Let me get back to. There we go. The 11 seed. We head down to Clemson, South Carolina. The Tigers, the number 11 overall seed in the nation, 44-16 out of the ACC. They'll be taking on the Spartans of USC Upstate, 36-23 out of the Big South. I want to say Big South. The 2-3 matchup.
Big South.
Yeah, the 2-3 matchup we have. Take me home, country roads. West Virginia, 41-14 out of the Big 12, taking on the Kentucky Wildcats, 29-24 out of the SEC. For me in this one here, I mean, Clemson should take care of business, but don't be shocked when those Mountaineers make it out of this regional. And here's the thing. I think Upstate can give Clemson a little bit of a fight in that 1-4 matchup potentially. Like that could be a sneaky little matchup there. Upstate, a solid little squad out of the Big South. Don't be surprised if they can maybe put up a little bit of fight in this one there. Clemson should win this regional. I'm going to take a shot with West Virginia over Clemson in the regional finals, though, in this one here. So I'm gonna take a shot there with that.
I did take Clemson to win the regional. Clemson, Banana Ball. If you remember, they played against the Savannah Bananas early in the year, but they had a really strong year. They had although their non-conference RPI was a 7, solid, and they were pretty solid in home games. They're 26-7 this year at home. This is a Clemson team. I think they make Omaha. I think I have Clemson making Omaha, and I have Kentucky as your runner-up. Keep in mind, there's always an SEC school that's one of your bubble teams that gets in their last 4 in that make a run. Whether it was Florida last year to the regional final, to Omaha, or the year before where Ole Miss won it all. They were our last 4 in. There's always an SEC school that makes a run. Watch out for Kentucky. Kentucky's my runner-up. Clemson wins the regional.
All right, fair.
All right, Nick. This one's gonna be fun.
We have the Razorbacks, the overall 3 seed in the nation for the Fayetteville Regional. I'm trying to get it back up here. 43-13 out of the SEC this year, taking on the 4 seed. Am I reading that right? North Dakota State?
That is correct.
Winning the Summit?
That is correct.
Wow. At 20-32. Okay. So, all right. Who's the worst team in the tournament? Is it North Dakota State or is it Little Rock?
RPI wise, I believe it was Little Rock.
Wow. Okay.
North Dakota State was 141 RPI. Little Rock was 243. Little Rock's the worst team in the tournament.
Heard. All right. I was just curious about that one there. And then the 2 seed Rock Chalk Jayhawk, the Kansas Jayhawks, 43-15 out of the Big 12. A fun little story there for them. And then the team hosting the College World Series, 41-14, Creighton Blue Jays out of the Big East. Are you surprised the Blue Jays are a 3 seed with that record, or not really?
No.
With them, no. Okay.
No, they could have been an at-large, to be honest.
Fair. It's an interesting region. Arkansas wins it, but it's an interesting region because I think that they could probably save Zach Root for Saturday, and they don't start him game 1 against North Dakota State. They throw probably their midweek arm out there for that first game. Save the big arms for the winner of Kansas Creighton. I think Arkansas runs through this one here. Now we've seen this in the past. Arkansas runs out of hitting when it comes to regionals, and they fall apart late in the postseason. I think this is a little bit different of an Arkansas team a little bit, and I think that they can easily run through the regional here.
Death, taxes, and Arkansas hosting a regional and still not being able to come out on top. The last 2 years, I will say 2022, they made Omaha. Good for them. 2023, Arkansas is the number 3 overall team in the country, and they fall to TCU in the regional. And that went all the way to the last game. Arkansas loses to TCU. All right, fine. They'll bounce back. There's no way they lose again, right? Following year, Arkansas not only loses to Kansas State, they get knocked out by SEMO.
That's right.
Yeah. Give me Creighton to win the regional. Creighton has had a real. They might not have been an at-large. They were 46 RPI. I don't know if they would have quite made it, but they were 17-4 in the Big East. But I was surprised. You know what? If Connecticut didn't get in, Creighton wouldn't have gotten in either. But Creighton at large, and there's everybody's hoping for that Tennessee Arkansas Super Regionals that we're just not going to get. Sign me up for Creighton to win the region. Arkansas being the runner-up.
Fair. I'm going to stick with Arkansas just because I think that they are the best team in this one. But I would not be surprised.
Final regional.
Yeah, let's head into it. We have the Knoxville regional here. Tennessee hosting there, the reigning national champion Volunteers, 43-16. They'll be taking on the Redhawks of Miami of Ohio out of the MAC, 35-21. Wake Forest, 36-20, taking on Cincinnati, 32-24. Wake Forest out of the ACC, Cincinnati out of the Big 12. I don't think they win the regional, but we'll talk about it in the next segment. I think Miami of Ohio could be a little bit sneaky in their first game against Tennessee. They have a couple stud pitchers that they could throw out there against Tennessee. Granted, Doyle will be on the other side, so it'll be
most likely
because I don't think Miami of Ohio is a team to be taken lightly as a 4 seed. I think they're one of the better 4 seeds in the field, personally, just with the potential starting pitchers they can throw up front, which help them win the MAC tournament.
80 RPI, they're not a terrible 4 seed.
They're not. I think they could be a little bit sneaky here. I'm not saying they win the regional, but I think they catch Tennessee sleeping potentially in the first game. And don't come at me when Miami, Ohio. Ready? Here's the exact result for this regional. Tennessee over Miami of Ohio in the regional finals.
That's not crazy. In terms of 4 seeds that are have a better RPI than Miami of Ohio, Columbia, Stetson, Fairfield. That's it. Those are the Miami, Ohio is 4th in RPI in terms of 4 seeds. I think Tennessee wins the regional. I think Tennessee makes it back to Omaha. I think Cincinnati's your runner-up. This is not the same Wake Forest team. Yes, they had a good year, but they're just not that same Wake Forest team that scares me. Last year they were a lot higher RPI. This year they're 30 RPI. I think Tennessee's the best team in this regional by a lot. Cincinnati was not even a bubble team. They weren't even a bubble team last 4 in. They were securely in, so good for them. I think Cincinnati beats Wake Forest. I think it's Tennessee, Cincinnati in the finals. Tennessee wins.
Fair. That's all of the regionals. Ready for our last 2 segments, Tim?
Yep. Quickly, 4 seed to win the regional.
Or 3 segments. 3 segments. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 seed to win the regional. I took Fresno State. I think it's the most favorable out of all the 4 seeds. You can make an argument for SC Upside, but Upstate, but that was kind of the chalky one. So I went with Fresno State. My backup would be Columbia.
I went with Miami of Ohio. I think they have the starting pitching to make a little bit of a dent in the Knoxville regional. And I mentioned it when we just broke down that last regional. I think Miami of Ohio can play in the regional finals in this region. And I think in order for that to happen, though, they have to beat Tennessee in the first game. I think Tennessee is built more to win through the losers bracket than obviously Miami of Ohio is. If Tennessee loses game 1 against Miami of Ohio, they can still win the regional very well.
Correct.
Really easily. And I think Miami of Ohio, though, here's at the end of the day, I don't think any 4 seeds win a regional. I just don't see it as feasible, even though we did see one last year do it in Evansville. But with that being said, I'm picking Miami of Ohio. I think they just make the regional final, though. I think I think they give Tennessee a run for their money.
answer for the next segment, although I have both of them. Top 8 seed to lose in the region and to not make it out of their own regional.
Ooh, you switched.
Arkansas. I switched to Arkansas. I originally had Texas in there. I think both of them don't make it out. I think Arkansas misses, and I wanted to put them in because their regional is easy. I'm sorry. Last year they had who in their regional? La Tech, Kansas State, and SEMO. That looks very, very similar to Kansas, Creighton, and North Dakota State. Arkansas misses.
Give me LSU to miss. And maybe this is just me continuing to buy into Dallas Baptist, and I've got to stop buying into the Patriots of Dallas Baptist. But I have Dalbap going decently far into this tournament, I'm going to take they're one of the top 6 seed or one of the top 8 seeds I don't have making it. I think I have. I'm trying to see if they're the only ones I don't have winning their regional. I could see, and I'm surprised neither of us clicked. I'm surprised neither of us typed out this one. If I had to pick a second one, I know you would pick Texas. I'd pick Auburn as the second one there with Stetson in that regional. Or NC State. And NC State's not a pushover either. So I that was one thing I was kind of looking at as well, but I'll stick with LSU here.
There you go, and let's do Omaha 8. I chose Vanderbilt, which was the 1 seed. Shock, shock. I chose Florida State. I chose UNC. I went with Auburn. Originally I had ECU, and then I switched it out because I decided to be a little bit more realistic. My mid-major school is UC Irvine, Duke, Clemson, and Tennessee. There's my Omaha 8.
All right. Mine's a little bit crazier. And hear me out on this one. We're going to start with Vanderbilt. That one's easy. The number 1 overall seed in the nation heading into this. Give me the Huskies. I'm buying into the Northeastern Huskies, winning 27 in a row. I get it. They played crappy teams. Cool. You can shake your head no at me all you want. You'll probably be right. Shocker. A team that's a 2 seed in a regional is not going to win and not going to make Omaha. Cool. Give me the Huskies. And seeing that I'm a biased homer piece of shit, give me the damn Pirates. ECU as one of my Omaha 8. Yes, I'm being completely homer there. I don't think they actually do. I think probably either Florida or North Carolina. Not North Carolina. Florida wins that regional, most likely in Conway. And probably you could see Auburn or Stetson make it as well. Tar Heels. I think the Tar Heels have the easiest path to Omaha, personally. I think I think their regional is a joke. And then they'll go up against Oregon, Arizona, Cal Poly. They walked their way to Omaha. They gave them a cakewalk. Texas takes care of business there. So does Georgia. So does Arkansas. Chalk, chalk, chalk. 2-7-3. Cool. Give me the Patriots of Dallas Baptist. God damn it, I'm buying into these Patriots again, and they're going to break my heart. Give me the Dallas Baptist Patriots. That's my 8th Omaha 8 team. So, yeah, there we go. Vandy, Northeastern, East Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Arkansas, Dallas Baptist.
And real quick, I'll mention my national champion. Give me Vanderbilt. Number 1 seed.
What a bold take.
No, hold on. Vanderbilt over Tennessee. We need that matchup again. That they played 4 times this year. Vanderbilt won 3 out of the 4. We need another series between the 2 of them.
All right. For my national champion, I won't be biased on this one. Give me the Pirates. I'm just kidding. Arkansas. I'll take Arkansas to win the national championship this year. And I will take Arkansas over Vanderbilt. Arkansas over Vanderbilt for me.
I have 2 SEC schools too anyway. All right. End it out, Nick.
Yeah. We want to thank you guys as always for watching. Let us know, who is your picks to make the region? Who do you like to make a deep run? Who is that 4 seed you can see upsetting and winning a regional? Who's that top 8 seed that won't be making it out of the regional? Who are your Omaha 8? Who wins the whole thing this year? Let us know down in the comment section below. That is going to do it for this one. Want to thank you guys as always for watching, and good luck.